today I'm going to share with you the beginning of my spiritual journey, the beginning of where that story began, and what's going on for me now. So, when I think about it, it actually began when I was about 9 years old. Between the ages of 9 and 16, I had what I learned to call visitations by light beings. They would come and sit on my bed, and they would talk to me. I would feel the pressure of their bodies as they sat around me on the bed. I'm not sure how many there were. I didn't actually see them, but I felt their bodies, and I felt a frequency, like the energy in the room, the quality of the air would change when they came, and they would sit on my bed, and they would talk, and they would ask me questions, simple questions. I never understood why they asked me these questions, except maybe it was occupying me while they were sharing their frequency with me. That's a guess. But they would ask me questions like, what's your address, and would you spell it for us? And I would hear their questions inside my head, but I was required, somehow I knew this, I was required to say it out loud. And I would, and the blankets would be tightened around my bed because of the pressure of their bodies. And then they would lift and leave, and when they would lift to leave, I would roll over and go to sleep. And I never told anybody about it. But I loved it. I loved it when they came, and I looked forward each night for them to come. And my only concern was if I had a sleepover at another kid's house, would they show up and make me talk out loud? And that did happen. I went to a friend's house to sleep over, and in the middle of the night, I'm like, Moshulu Parkway, M-O-S-H, and I'm spelling my address. But nobody, I could have been talking in my sleep, I guess. Nobody said anything about it in the morning, and I got through it. So it stopped at about 16, and I don't really know why. But I went on with my teenage childhood, being involved like all kids are. And when I was 19, I started doing transcendental meditation. And I did transcendental meditation through somewhere in my 20s. And somewhere in my 20s, I began to be exposed to more spiritual teachers, psychics, guru type people, and I would ask them, I would bring the story of these beings to them and say, so I had these beings that would visit me and talk to me, what were they? And they would answer my question, but it never resonated right. It was like, no, that's not what it was. So I probably by the time I was in my early 30s, I forgot, I just stopped asking anybody about them anymore because I really wasn't satisfied. But from TM, I got involved for a brief time with Guru Maharaji, and then for a much longer period of time with the Enneagram School, which is where I learned the Enneagram. And the Enneagram School is founded by Oscar Chazo, and I consider him like the grandfather of the Enneagram. I studied there for maybe 10 years, all sorts of things. We didn't just learn the Enneagram. We meditated on yantras and chanted and did walking meditations, and there were a lot of different kinds of Enneagrams that we learned. So that was a big part of my spiritual development. After that, I had another spiritual teacher for about 10 years, and with that teacher, I began to unravel and understand unraveling the ego structure. I didn't really get that in the first 30 years of my spiritual development, or 25. But during those 10 years, I began to understand the unraveling of the ego structure and identity, so that you loosened up your identity. Somewhere after that, I studied hypnosis, past life regression, and life between life regression with the Michael Newton School and Michael Newton Institute. And in my first experience, being led back through time to a past life with a lovely woman, the process was to take us back through times in this life to experiences in your mother's womb. So I was in an experience in my mother's womb and thinking, at first my conscious mind is thinking, I'm never going to remember something in my mother's womb. How will that happen? But I got there, and the frequency of those beings were in the womb, and I felt them. I felt the presence around me, and I started weeping. It's like I was reunited with my family, with my group. I called them my group for a really long time. There was the highlight of the past life regression. There was a past life that I saw pretty vividly. I experienced between lives, and that was great because the group was there. It's my spiritual soul group. There are actually a lot more than that, as I've come to learn lately, but that was a reuniting with my group. And that was only maybe 6 years ago. So from that point on, they were with me a lot. They would come, I would feel the frequency when I'd be doing other past life regressions for other people. I might feel them when I was leading a group. But it was just sort of background. And then one day, last October, I was taking a walk, and I heard the thought. The thought sort of like descended into my mind, and I've had that kind of experience just a number of times. Descended into my mind, and it's time. And I thought, it was like really resonant, like, yes, it's time. But then I thought, it's okay, it's time. What does that actually mean? And I figured it's time to really devote myself to awakening, to consciousness, to my spiritual growth. And that felt right, but it also felt like, but what more would I be doing? I meditate, I try to practice being mindful or present, and I'm exploring, and I'm reading things, and watching other spiritual teachers, and exploring what else would it mean. And so I thought, I'll ask the group. I'll get the group involved. I'll ask the group. And the only way I could think to ask the group was to start a journal where I would talk to the group in my handwriting. And I describe, okay, it's time, and I'm asking you for help, and immediately the frequency of the presence came in really strong, and filled me, and showed me experientially in a deeper, more inclusive way than ever before, because I've had several of these experiences through my life, showed me the oneness of everything. Showed me the underlying frequency that connects everything that is alive and even inanimate. Everything. It connects. There's a frequency of oneness that is in everything. Fills the universe, beyond the universe. So I was shown that, and I was shown that I am that, and I was able to let go totally of my being and look from there, see from there. The beings took me there. And and at first I doubted it. I thought, this is kind of a little bit weird. I like things real concrete and practical, and even though I've been on a spiritual journey, it's been a very practical spiritual journey. So when that started happening, I thought, well, okay, that's all well and good. I can just do this without them. And I would meditate and practice, and it wasn't as deep and full as when I said, okay, group, help me with this. Show me more. and the frequency would show up and take me and fill me and fill the universe. And, in time, which took probably a few months, I began to surrender to it and say, okay, I'm going to surrender to this. And then in my journal, I started writing, it's time to share. You have to share this. You have to bring this frequency is for your own growth, and it's for everyone else. This frequency, when it's shared, will shift people. And you must gather a group together and let the frequency flow through you, and it will affect people in the way that they need it to affect them. It's for people in transition, so that it's going to help me make this transition to a higher frequency, and it's for others, to help others make the transition to a higher frequency, which I think we all need right now, and so does the planet. It's also for Mother Earth, which is in transition. So that's it. That's the story of the light beings.